Lights, applause and unhealed hearts. London, night of cinema, night of hearts. Regent Street lit up like a galaxy fallen to Earth. Thousands of lights surrounded the old cinema, where the international premiere of The Light Between Us had just ended to thunderous applause. No one left their seats immediately. People sat there because they felt like they had lived a life in just 2 hours, as if the raindrops in the film were still falling on their hearts. Outside, a real drizzle had begun. London, as usual, had promised no sunshine to anyone. Jamie Dornan stood backstage, his forehead pressed lightly against the wooden floor behind the stage. His breathing was heavy, as if he had just run across a long field. Not because of exhaustion, but because each round of applause felt like a needle piercing the armor of calm he had tried to wear for a year. The shots of him and Dakota looking at each other in the rain, their trembling hands searching for each other in the dark, the heartbreaking lines, audiences called it acting. He knew, it was a confession that could never be uttered in real life. Dakota stood a few feet away, huddled against the dark wall, clutching a flimsy scarf. She cried during the introduction, not because of the role, but because the applause sounded like an endorsement of what she had always feared. That love, once lit, was no longer a shelter, but a greenhouse, every crack magnified. "Are you okay?" Jamie asked, his voice so low that even he had to lean forward to hear. Dakota nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the crack in the door, where the red carpet and the array of cameras awaited. She whispered, "Tonight, they will ask. They will look into your eyes for answers. And if you are silent, they will write them down for you." Jamie paused. "I will be there for you. But maybe, not in the way they want." They looked at each other for a long moment. No more promises. Only sincerity. Something they had paid dearly for. An assistant opened the door and whispered, "They are waiting for you on the steps. The welcome music is about to start." Jamie stood. Dakota pulled his tie back. The door opened. A wave of cheers rushed toward them. The red carpet, where every question turns to blades. He and she strode down the red carpet, a long strip of crimson silk stretching across the steps, blending into the pale London rain. Reporters leaned forward, microphones raised, mouths full of question marks. Is this the story of the two masked men in the movie? The last scene, is it really goodbye? Tonight, Jamie, can you say something about Dakota? Dakota, is Chris Martin here? She gave a small, polite smile, one honed by years in front of flashbulbs. But her eyes hid nothing. That's why they were so sought after. Jamie reached out, not shaking, just touching her elbow, a gesture that said, "I am here." They stopped in front of a backdrop printed with the film's title. A reporter asked, his voice shaking from standing so close, the title. "The Light Between Us. The Light Between Us. What is it?" Dakota looked straight into the camera, as if wondering, "It's something that's still there even when we can't be together." Jamie added softly, "And that's what keeps us from lying." For a moment, the red carpet was silent. Then a series of clicks rang out in unison, like hail, like fireworks. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, did they just admit something?" Dakota was about to step forward when a sudden cold wind blew through. The curtains on the side of the hall opened. The event manager froze. Then the crowd leaned toward the edge of the red carpet, as if pulled back by an invisible force. A black car glided to the edge of the barrier. The door opened. Amelia Warner stepped out. Amelia, silent with images. She wore a long, ash-gray silk dress, unbelievably simple for such a lavish party. No glittering jewelry, just a delicate necklace that sparkled like morning dew. Her face was soft, no bold lipstick, no thick mascara. But because of that, she was the center of attention. Anyone familiar with the scent of drama knew. This was no walk in the park. This was an ending, or a beginning. Dakota held her breath. Jamie paused. He had told the team there would be no surprise guests tonight. He had tried to hide them, at least on the first night. But Amelia came, naturally. She didn't look around, didn't look for a microphone. She walked straight toward them. The crowd parted like water before a boat. Cameras flashed, lights moved. For a few seconds, the entire square seemed to be reduced to the sound of rain on the canvas roof. Amelia stopped in front of the backdrop. She looked at Jamie first. He was gaping but speechless. "Congratulations," she whispered. "The film is so beautiful it hurts." Jamie didn't know where to put his hands. His heart, a new beat. Amelia turned to Dakota. They had sat across from each other in a deserted cafe, telling each other truths without an audience. Today, they stood together, in front of the world. Dakota bowed his head, not out of guilt, out of respect. "You deserve praise tonight," Amelia said evenly. "Because you dared to do things that others only whisper in the dark." Then, she did what no one, not even herself, thought she could do. Amelia reached out and hugged Dakota. A brief, gentle, unabashed hug. The crowd erupted. One reporter almost cried. In that moment, all that scandal had evaporated into nothingness. Only the women remained, those who had not let their hearts be turned into weapons. Press room, where emotions are recorded. After the red carpet, 3 people appeared in the press room. Not at the same time. Not on the same chair. But on the same long table, the same backdrop, the same cold light. The host looked at the notebook, hesitating. Should I separate the QA? Amelia shook her head slightly. "Let's go together. Let's go together tonight." The first person to ask a question turned to Dakota. "Have you ever thought that making this film was digging up a wound?" Dakota smiled. "I think we turned the wound into art, so that it was no longer a knife, but a lighthouse." Another reporter turned to Jamie. "Do you think the audience will see that as a confession?" Jamie looked into Amelia's eyes. Then into the camera. "I think they'll take that as the truth. But the truth, sometimes, is simply this. We once loved the unnameable. And now we learn to name what remains, with respect." "And you, Amelia?" a female voice said. "Do you feel like a failure?" The room suddenly cooled a few degrees. Amelia pulled her chair back, tilted her head. "I don't play that game. I lost, and I won. That's me. If love makes us warped, forgiveness makes us grow." Some people clapped, not in a press conference style, but enough to stop the pounding of confused hearts. Some asked, "Is this the end of all speculation?" Dakota answered for her, "No. Gossip is like rain in London, it doesn't need a reason to fall. But we won't let it fall on our house anymore." Empty corridors, words not used for public use. When everyone had dispersed, when the reporters had hurried back to the newsroom, when the sound of cameras had faded into memory, Jamie stood alone in the corridor leading to the roof. The London night was damp and smelled faintly of stone. He heard light footsteps behind him. Amelia had arrived. "Thank you for coming," Jamie said. "I didn't know if you wanted to." "To appear in public?" she smiled. "No. You know, I came for myself. I was tired of people thinking I was weak." Jamie lowered her voice. "I never thought you were weak. But I thought you were a safe place. And a safe place isn't a person. A safe place is a room in your heart." She paused for a beat, as if listening to her heartbeat. "I found that room again. And I saw, there was still a window open for you." In the stabbing silence, Jamie asked what he feared most. "So, what are we?" "We are 2 people who have come a long way together, and in the end still choose to speak kindly." She smiled slightly. "Maybe someday we will walk together again, on new terms. If not, I still hope the woman walking beside you won't have to learn to heal herself in the dark." There were other footsteps. Dakota appeared at the end of the hallway, pausing, as if afraid to break the fragile glass of conversation. Amelia turned and nodded to her. Dakota approached, keeping a safe distance. "Thank you," Dakota said, so sincerely that she was startled by the tremor in his voice. "I know you didn't come to forgive me. But you saved me from an unnecessary argument tonight." Amelia smiled. Tonight belongs to art. We owe it peace. Dakota took a breath. I wrote to you, not to the newspaper, just to you, just to say, there are days when I wish I were someone else, someone who wouldn't hurt anyone. Amelia looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Just me, but the version that stands in the rain and doesn't blame the sky. Dakota smiled, tears welling up in her eyes but not falling. Jamie turned away, as if relearning how to stand in a frame that didn't put her at the center. The letter, breathing lines. 3 days later, Amelia received a cream-colored envelope, with no name on the outside. She knew who it was. There were vibrations that could be recognized just by touching it. She made tea, opened the envelope. Inside was a sheet of school paper, tilted, some of the handwriting crossed out. The letter wasn't long, but each sentence was like a stitch. Amelia. I don't know where to start, so I'll start with the smallest thing. That day, when you hugged me, I heard something closing. Maybe a door separating two women who decided not to look at each other like a mirror reflecting their wounds. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to learn to calm down. I was lost, and when I found my way out, I realized, not everyone who is lost wants to find their way back. There are people, like you, who quietly built a house in the middle of the rainy field, lit a lamp, didn't call anyone's name, didn't chase anyone away. I wish one day I could learn to light a lamp like that too. If there's anything I can promise, it's this. I won't let my name be an excuse for others to hurt me again. Dakota. Amelia put the letter down, feeling a strange warmth spread from the center of her chest. It wasn't the joy of victory. It was the feeling that a real conversation had taken place, not in a press room, not on a red carpet, but deep in her heart, passionate and loving and vulnerable. She got up and opened the window. The London rain had stopped. On the rooftops, the sunlight was pale like a forgotten handkerchief. Song, When Silence Has Rhythm. That night, Amelia sat at the piano, placing Dakota's letter beside the music box. She touched the first key, and an A note rang out like a drop of water on a glass. The song came to her naturally. Someone came to teach me how to stand. Someone left to teach me how to let go. I don't want to win in their story. I just want to be the rhythm that bridges the silence. She didn't write this song for the public. But the public will hear it, because melodies born from truth always find a way. Somewhere else, Alaska or Iceland, no one knows for sure. Chris Martin looked up at the dark sky, pulled up his jacket. He opened his notebook, wrote 4 lines of poetry, and let them fly. As he reread it, he smiled to himself, saying, I never fell when my heart was bright. I never fell when my hands were still hanging. If the rain stops on another horizon, I still sing, for what has passed. He texted a friend, I think I'm fine. Then deleted it. No need to send it again. Sometimes the best messages are the ones we read to ourselves. The last screening, the last rain scene. A month later, The Light Between Us had a special screening to raise money for an organization that supports artists' mental health. Jamie, Dakota, Amelia were all there. No red carpet, no sharp questions. Just a small cinema, soft yellow lights, old velvet seats. Before the film started, the host invited the 3 of them to step onto the stage. They stood side by side. No one in the middle. No one in the back. Just 3 people, like 3 notes in a chord that no longer ripples. We made this film because we believe, Dakota said, that there are things that cannot be expressed in words, but can be felt with the eyes. Eyes are not for destroying. They are for healing. Jamie added, if you ever feel stuck between an old love and a worthy gift, know that you are not alone. But choose honesty. Honesty can make you lose, but lies will make you smaller. Amelia smiled. And if one day, you have to stand on a stage with people who have hurt you, let that pain be your wings. It doesn't need applause. The audience applauded, not loudly, but long, warm, and appropriate. The film began. By the final rain scene, when the two characters stood under the awning, looking at each other through a streak of water, the whole theater held its breath. Dakota glanced at Amelia in the darkness. Amelia nodded. Go ahead. Jamie looked straight at the screen, where the movie version of himself said the words he never dared to say in real life. I will love you, in a way that doesn't hurt anyone. The three of them sat there, listening to the rain on the screen, and realized, it was time. The goodbye never ends. After the movie, Dakota waited in the alley behind the theater. Jamie walked forward. Amelia stood behind, keeping her distance. In the damp alley, where the smell of late-night baking bread mixed with the scent of wet leaves, they chose their final words. Thanks for the movie, Jamie said. Thanks for not running away, Dakota said. We won't hurt each other anymore, right? He asked. She shook her head. No. But no matter what, I'll keep a little window in my heart where the light between us can shine through without touching anyone else. Jamie smiled, for the first time in months, a debt-free smile. He turned to Amelia. She nodded, not a hasty nod of reconciliation, but a promise. We'll talk again, somewhere where neither of us has to defend ourselves. Dakota took a step back. Go, she said, light as air. There are no legends tonight. Only real people. Jamie took Amelia's hand, not a squeeze. They left the alley, their shadows stretching out on the sidewalk. Dakota stopped, looked up, saw a lighted window. Someone was laughing, maybe a theater worker, or maybe a couple in the middle of the night. She pulled up her hood, covered her hair, and walked away. The London night was no longer cold. Little lights. The following month, Amelia released an EP called Room with a Window. The cover was a single room, the window open, the rain still falling outside. None of the songs mentioned anyone by name. But listeners didn't care. They listened to those songs on nights when they wanted to cry for no reason, and felt allowed to be vulnerable. Jamie started a new project, a role without broken hearts, without rain scenes. He reads the script in the kitchen, cooks dinner, occasionally laughing when he feels his hands stop shaking. Dakota takes a brief directorial role, two women talking in a cafe, no names, no background music, just the sound of spoons on cups. She sends Amelia a preview of the soundtrack. Amelia replies, I found my own light. Chris Martin returns to the stage, opening his new tour with When the Rain Ends. This song is for those who have learned to love without witnessing tragedy, he introduces. The room is lit by phones, like an artificial starry sky. He looks peaceful. And somewhere in the quiet room, someone plays The Light Between Us again, pauses at the final rain scene, then presses pause. In the frame, two people look at each other through a streak of water. No forward, no backward, just acknowledgement. The viewer smiles. Enough. The light between us. No one writes the ending to this story. Because stories about growing up rarely have exclamation points. They end with a breath. With the lights dimming in the theater and footsteps returning to life, where breakfast still needs to be cooked, bills still need to be paid, and hearts, though they know how to heal, are still fragile in the rain. But if I had to name what remains, perhaps it would be kindness. Kindness to myself, daring to call my feelings by their true names. Kindness to others, not making them supporting actors in my tragedy. And kindness to my memories, so that when I look back, I am not ashamed of how I loved. The London night has passed. The rain has stopped. The bricks still glisten with water. Above them, three figures walk, each in a different direction, but each carrying a small ray of light in their hearts. Not to enlighten anyone, just to remember the journey. Because, as the slogan, and life has proven, there are loves that never end. They just find other ways to survive.